All right, let's get into the draft then. General managers that you would like to be over the course of the next 2 weeks, specifically 9 days from now when the new league year begins. Trivia question for you, Christopher. Which West Virginia alumnus has the most quarterback wins as a starter in the National Football League?
Man, this is a good one here. Because I honestly, I want to just, I can't think of anybody else who really had like winning game. I'm going to go with Jeff Hostetler. I'm going to say that.
Gotta be.
It is that, right?
Also, once had shaving cream in his shoes.
Also
Yes.
had that. Yeah, I
Yes.
just I just it's not a storied, college as far as quarterbacks in the NFL. I couldn't think of anybody else that really had that type of
Mark
career.
Bulger. Mark Bulger
would have been close,
could
right?
have gotten some, yes.
Yeah, I would think he was probably a year or two away. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to take like low-hanging fruit to start here. I mean, one, I'm going with Jacksonville just off the bat right here. Why? I mean, GMs we'd like to be. Oh, wait, I get my pick of whoever I want as the number one quarterback in the draft coming up. And I have, let me check, $85 million of cap
Next
space.
2 weeks. Next 2 weeks, so the draft thing. Although you still know you've got the top pick in the draft.
That's what I mean. So now you don't have to worry about that. You can just you could sell, hey, we got this special quarterback we love, and he's coming to town and all of that. And we can pay you a little bit more money than everybody else on the market, because we have more. So there's something to be excited about that you could sell the players. And, of course, you could add a little icing on the cake, too, because you got so much money. I mean, to me, I'm really intrigued to see how Jacksonville plays this free agency, how Trent Baalke and Urban Meyer kind of want to spread the wealth of their football team and what they want to do within that vision of Urban Meyer, too.
Jaguars have been around for 26 years. They've never had the number one overall pick in the draft and $84 million in cap space. That was my first pick as well. Next pick, team with $77 million in projected cap space and the number 2 overall pick in the draft. And, some assets like a Sam Darnold who could be traded to another team to enhance your standing in the draft. And, they're already holding the knowledge, even though we're just talking about the next 2 weeks, that they've got a second first-round pick from Jamal Adams, so they can really go out and do some shopping. They can do some things to reshape the team, continue to build from the inside out, not the outside in. Don't go sign a Le'Veon Bell type of a guy this year. Get linemen, offensive and defensive linemen, and also, since it's a 2-week window, I would resist the urge as long as possible to go out and spend big money for the sake of spending big money, because someone always does that, and they end up regretting it. And the bargains come after you get through the first few days of free agency. It's just hard to get teams. Every year there's always going to be a handful of teams that say, the hell with that, we're going to go spend. I would resist being one of those teams if I was the Jets.
Well, why? What do you want to? Why do you want to resist it? What's the big?
Because you overspend, you overpay. If you go out first day of free agency and buy up some player like Chris Godwin, you're going to pay him too much. That's how you get the deal done on the first day. You get a better value if you wait several days for the market to cool down, because I think this year there's going to be more guys available than ever before once the market cools off.
Yeah, I hear you. So, that makes sense. I mean, you might have that one or two guys that you look at and you go, okay, we're willing to pay for more for them, but we're going to sit back in the weeds.
But those guys never work out. When do those guys ever work out? The Jets did that with Tremaine Johnson a few years ago, and it didn't work out. How many of those guys actually work out? Those guys who hold up the jersey the first day of free agency, how many of those guys become integral parts of a team? Day one of free agency, multi-year deal, record-setting for his position. How many of those guys become key parts of a championship contender? Not many.
Yeah, I know. You're right. Probably not. I'd have to think about it a little off the top of my head. I was going to say DeForest Buckner last year, but he ended up getting traded. That wasn't a free agent or anything like that. So I hear you. It's a solid point. There's no doubt about that. I think the next one I'm going to look at, there's so many good ones to pick here. I mean, there really is. There's some interesting ones. I'll go just the Miami Dolphins. I'll look at them to where they just got a lot to play with here. Now, they're not like, a ton of money like the Patriots and some of the other teams, but they're still sitting in a really good position with $36 million left in the salary cap. And with all the draft picks they have too, hey, they can look at their football team, look at their roster and go, hey, we're in a pretty good spot. We don't have like anything that's just an absolute desperate need. So they're going to be able to be picky and choosy within free agency. And if there's a player out there that because like you said, teams are going to be looking to trim the fat and do those things. They got the assets and the draft picks with 2 firsts, 2 seconds, right, to play with and figure out if they want to get rid of one of those to make a play or do that. So it'd be fun to be a GM for the Miami Dolphins right now, especially. And, of course, you're in the Deshaun Watson conversation as soon as Houston starts to answer a call there.
$23 million in projected cap space, which is it's better than the alternative, but it's not some of the big numbers that we've seen. And that's why I'd go New England Patriots, which I guess makes me Bill Belichick since he's really the guy with the juice there. So I would have 8 Super Bowl rings. So I would like to have those for a couple of weeks so I could put them on and flash them like he did before Super Bowl 54. But $66 million in cap space, blank slate at quarterback, a lot of holes to fill. I mean, the challenge is there, but you have the opportunity to do it. And they planned for this. I would say that they're one of the teams that lobbied very aggressively against bumping the salary cap up to help the teams that didn't plan, because they planned. They knew which way the ball was moving as a result of the pandemic, and they stockpiled cap space. And, the argument can be made that they deliberately, I wouldn't say threw in the towel last year, but they knew that last year was going to be tough to compete, so they opted to carry cap space into this year. And have the advantage that comes from being a great organization with a great coaching staff that can go out and buy up a bunch of cheaper players going into 2021, and that's what they have the opportunity to do with $66 million in cap space.
I know. I'm interested to see how they attack this. Obviously, we know they got holes they need to fill. They got some guys coming back from, the COVID-19 list and all of that. That's great. But the team needs to be improved. And where I look at it with New England, where I'm always interested is, it's always about value with them, whether it's the draft or free agency. I mean, typically Belichick seems to be a guy that trades down on the draft because, players we have doesn't mix the value or whatever, so we're going to trade down and get a bargain somewhere else. Free agency, they've been the same way. That it's rare that they make a first week splash. They're kind of one of those teams that you kind of talk about, Mike, where they kind of let all the big guys go, and then they try to find, now let me look at the second cut of free agency, and I think there's some guys in here that should have been maybe on the first cut, but they are going to get paid like the second cut, and they get those type of values, and I'm going to be interested to see how they attack that.
All right, tight on time. We got 2 rounds down, 1 to go. Chris, who's your 3rd round pick for the GM you want to be for the next 2 weeks?
Hey, I look at Washington football team, and I like that, but they got to fix the quarterback situation. So I don't know if that's the GM I want to be. The one that really jumps out to me, the Colts. All right, they got their quarterback. They got a team that's in the Super Bowl window. And now Chris Ballard, who I look at as one of the best GMs in football, $41 million in cap space. Projected closer to $50 million when you take the top 51 on the roster there. And I know we don't know the exact number, but I just look at that as going, wow, they don't need a lot. They got depth. They got everything you need on that football team. Now it's just about maybe getting a star or two that are difference makers.
And look, I also would like to have a relaxing couple of weeks if possible. If I'm Bucs GM Jason Light, I'm just trying to keep my guys. I'm not going out shopping. Oh, and I have a Lombardi trophy that was tossed from one boat to another that I can just sit and look at and say, it's pina colada time,
Lazy
baby.
way out. You want that job.
Let the rest of you suckers work for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to sit here and enjoy my new trophy.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.